Kia ora koutou, I'm Paul Blaschke, and I've got the pleasure of chairing this next session where we're moving our focus very clearly to Whanganui-a-Tara, and we're talking about two, I'll call them flagship projects. I think there's probably a much better term for them, which we think are very important for the whole mahi of our project, of our NUWAO project, and we're lucky to have them here. And we're lucky to have a couple of leading architects, one of whom you've already heard from today, to talk about those. So, and I will say a little bit about the field trip tomorrow for not just for those who are coming, but also for those who are not coming. So without further ado, I'm going to start with asking Hugh Tennent, who is going to talk about Victoria University, or more specifically Te Maua Kiwi, the Living Pā project. And so Hugh, I'm just reading a little bit of a blurb from the program, who's leading the design of all major projects at Tennent Brown Architects, and conceived with others the idea of the Living Pā project, which is he will talk about right now. So where is your one? Let's see. Oh, you're already. It's all ready to go. All ready to go. Thank you very much. Paul. Yeah.
Kia ora. Tēnā rā tātou. Ki te mana whenua, te rohi nei, Tānaki Wānui, me ngā tangata katoa o ngā whenua, ngā motu o te moana nui a Kiwa, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou. Kia koutou katoa, e hui mai nei, mi roto hoki ngā manaakitanga o tēnei wā, kei te mihi, kei te mihi, kei te mihi. Thank you for this opportunity to share a little bit about the Living Pā and about the Living Building Challenge, which is sort of very central to this project. Now, I'll just switch button up. Thank you. So the Living Pā is a new whare and a new amenity for Te Here na Waka, the marae at the campus here, and it's up on Kelvin Parade. Many of you will be familiar with this project. And it's a new wharekai, wharepāku, and academic spaces for Te Kawa Māori, Māori studies, and also some other faculties, DVC Māori, sustainability on the campus. It's a very ambitious project, and the two main kaupapa for the project are uplifting mātauranga Māori at Te Here na Waka University of Wellington, Victoria, and also to utilise the Living Building Challenge to create a response to building in a small, tight, large building in an urban environment, an education building. And so in that way, it's proposing to be a world leading building, one of only 30 certified living buildings, if we get there, which we will, and New Zealand's most sustainable educational facility and Wellington's most sustainable building. So those are the credentials. But more importantly, it's a great adventure and a great challenge. And it'll be an extraordinary home for this, really what is the gateway to the campus, and in many ways I think of as the emotional heart of the campus, the marae. So these are the two kaupapa. There's a tauparapara here around drag forth the canoes across the rippling and quivering waves of Wellington Harbour until you reach the base of Ahumairangi, enter through the carved gateway of the upper marae Ikura or Maui to the reverberating domain of Rongo Marae Aroa. That's the Aotea and the carved meeting house of Te Tumuhune na Waka, the storehouse of words and knowledge. A thriving community where teaching of Rangia would continue to remind us to stand up one and all and maintain the posts of your house, Te Here na Waka, and a thriving lab where the teachings of Maui inspire and extend our understanding that emanate from the earth and the sky, where paukairangi becomes the standard to aspire to and ensure a sustainable future. And so it begins. So this was worked out from the knowledge holders of the marae as an exaltation to Parapara for the project. The Living Building Challenge was selected to be the defining guide for the making of this whare and how it will perform over its life. And for those of you that are not familiar with it, it's stated here, the most rigorous environmental performance standard globally. And as I say, there's only 30 that have been full Living Building Challenge registered projects that have been certified. There are 7 petals that are arrayed to, like a flower, to guide the construction and the manifestation of the project using the Living Building Challenge. And we'll come to those as they as we go through the presentation. For those unfamiliar, the main campus is up on the hill above us here, and the marae is actually very hidden away, tucked in below Glasgow Street, which runs up to Kelburn. Kelburn Parade is a rising street that dissects the campus. There's a new hub, but and there was a series of houses which housed the whare and Te Kawa Maui. The little black building is Te Tumuhere NUWAO, the wharenui, the whare whakairo of the marae of Te Here NUWAO. And there's this beautiful sequestered courtyard, Rangamai Roa, is the Aotea. So the how to design so to support Te Tumuhere NUWAO, provide some, retain that sense of seclusion, but at the same time open up and create transparency was some of our challenges. The key main ideas just architecturally were to increase the sense of welcome that I was just discussing, so that you can see through and be invited through to Te Tumuhere NUWAO, to extend the ground plane so that, because a lot of big functions occur on the site, which were restricted to the Aotea, but by having a very broad wharekai at the same level as the Aotea, then it'll really be able to hold graduations, events, and more people want to use the marae. To create a sense of interconnected space that's quite porous, which suits Tao Māori, suits the pedagogy of how people learn in Te Kawa Maui and learn from being with the marae and visiting the marae. So the building is long and skinny. It's about 17 metres wide and 60 to 70 metres long, and it's quite porous internally. And also, as one of the main goals, but also this pressing issue with carbon, to create a carbon neutral, or in fact sequestering carbon in the early parts of carbon. So key concepts. This is a view of what it might look like with the Te Tumuhere NUWAO through here, and this is the wharekai and a whare hononga, a sort of hononga space, a connecting space at the bottom. And this is the ground floor plan with the wharekai, Kelburn Parade out here, the rising road, wharepaku plant, and the kihini and entrance. And then the waharoa, which you can currently see on Kelburn Parade, will be moved up to here as the gateway to the Aotea. So that's an aerial view, a cut-through view of that space, showing the level change. The street drops a lot from the top. It's 1 in 12. It's like an accessible ramp. And this is a view of how the whare might look with the Aotea and Te Tumuhere NUWAO there, the wharenui and the wharekai coming off it. So quite a big program of 33,000 square metres on a site that's literally only 900, well, the footprint, 1,000 square metres. The second, the first floor up has got teaching and learning spaces, student services, AWHINA, the administration for the academic areas, a space for students, tawira, and seminar spaces. And then the next floor has more academic spaces, DVC Māori sustainability, so office spaces. So you can see there are these holes through the building which allow light to come through and allow stack effect ventilation to go up. And then you'll also notice these big T-column that we're showing in the other images, which are the mass timber frame, which are taking all the seismic and gravity loads of the building in timber. So these are the 7 performance areas of the Living Building Challenge: place, water, energy, health and happiness, materials, equity, and beauty. And each one of those has got a series of imperatives, which are very demanding imperatives to encourage, guide, and measure the emphasis on these different aspects. So it's a really lovely holistic rating system with the emphasis on beauty and equity, health and happiness, as well as the sort of more harder things, materiality, the why, the energy use, and the location, the site. These are the imperatives, and and we haven't got time in this presentation to go through these in any detail, but just picked a couple of pieces out of each of them. With the sense of place, the ecology, place, it's a lot about restoring the pre-existing condition of the site prior to the occupation of the site, so even before the houses. And this is the headwaters of Kumatoto stream, which comes out into the harbour. So there's a lot around restoring, so the water that we're going to be is going to come off our site into the wastewater, the stormwater system will be clean. That we're working to increase the planting, the amount of tatao, the natural environment on the site, and also on the building and within the building. So, and part of that was in terms of the Living Building Challenge, there's a lot of measurement around the pre-existing ecology and the post-project ecology. Yeah, this is the site here, and you can see the Kumatoto stream. The only place it's actually daylit is through the headwaters above the terrace tunnel, and then it's piped, but unbelievably, pokapū and fish actually navigate that journey. And so this is where the role of mana whenua too, like I'm working on another project with Kiwi Rail, with terminals and ships for the new Inter-Islander, and working with Taranaki Wānui on Kaiwharawhara stream, and how they are just the champions of restoring and maintaining. We're trying to enhance the well-being and restore the buried wetlands. Robin's done some good work on all the streams of Whanganui-a-Tara. This is just to show you, I mean, I won't go into this, but this is about the different aspects of reporting on the baseline of the site. The communities, the species, the physical conditions, and then how post the project, the restoration goals are working to try and improve those. So there's a lot of reporting and analysis done in a whole lot of different areas around just the site in itself and its occupation. It's an example of our, like, it's a big footprint, but where possible and on the building too, we're increasing the amount of planting, maintaining the existing planting, and then sort of working the planting vertically. The water is a really significant challenge on such a tight urban site, because you need to have 105% net zero water, so that you are managing all of your water on that you're collecting it all from your roof, 100% supply of water by captured rainwater and a closed loop system of recycling. So incredibly ambitious. It's a little bit easier when you've got a bit of room to do a wastewater system and drainage fields. Here we've got to develop a whole lot of ways of managing that, both with water capture and water treatment. So we've got an MBR, a membrane bioreactor, which is going to actually be down in here in the forefront of Murphy Annex, taking the wastewater. Then the filtered wastewater goes up onto planters on the building, which will have plants for evapotranspiration. And we're also, the water from that is also then going to be what they call hand printed onto the Murphy building to use to flush the toilets. So in that way, because of the demands of the water, we can utilize that for an adjacent building to reuse it. And there is also a real effort to reduce the amount of water. So we've got vacuum toilets rather than normal flush toilets. We've got a real, all of those sort of water saving devices. And in terms of apps and how the water is used, and also a general awareness about bringing the understanding of the ambitions of the project and the preciousness of the why to everyone's mind that have been using the building. And then all this has to be monitored. That's the thing about the Living Building Challenge, is that it's not just for design. You have to go for over a year afterwards to measure the predictive and targets to see whether you've achieved them. On energy, main aspects of energy around energy use and also about carbon. So in this instance, we're needing to achieve net positive energy, meeting 100% of our annual needs from the site. So the whole roof is just completely cloaked, and even parts outside of the roof in photovoltaics. Again, energy reduction in use. And with the carbon, this is the PVs on the roof up here. There's a certain amount of battery storage for resilience, and then we're grid connected to be able to go through the peaks and troughs of the year. Here's the graph showing reducing, so getting our energy targets right down from what's the normal baseline. Carbon is just a whole huge lecture topic in itself, which Jerome would probably be able to do a great job on. But essentially, this is the construction of the building, which we're going to be negative carbon, I think 150 tonnes, because of the sequestering of the timber, and also our absolute minimisation of concrete. There's still pile caps, but that's about the only concrete in the job, and some little retaining walls around the edges, and very little steel, other than thousands and thousands of screws in the wood. And then in the use, having an operational use that's neutral with all of that PVs. And then we have to consider the end of life, how the thing can come apart and be reused, and then beyond the life cycle. Currently with mass timber buildings, they do consider that the timber will go into the ground and rot. And so for the whole of life, there'll be positive carbon. But the amount of effort there just to measure all that using LCAs, life cycle analysis. And this is the structural frame with Alistair and Dunning Thornton, with these T-shaped columns, box beams, and these sort of seismic widgets, which are basically every column and beam joint, two-way main beams in the column have got steel rods on top and bottom each way that will stretch in a seismic event, and to be able to absorb the seismic energy at the joint rather than crack and fall apart, and can be tightened again. Timber piles, and there are the pile caps. This is a recent shot with one of the floor panels going in with this CLT floor panel spanning 9 meters with these joists underneath. And here you can see the vertical T columns. The building's being built in 3 sort of vertical stages to try and keep the wood dry. Let's get a roof on it quickly. Health and happiness relates to physical and psychological well-being. In the case of the Living Building Challenges, there's a lot of emphasis on natural light, healthy air environment, and then this Tau Māori overlay of the connectedness of the space is a lot about that, how it's suitable for the pedagogy. And there's a lot of measuring of VOCs and things that have to be done once the building's built. Here's an example of how the building's architecture allows for natural daylight because it's quite a shallow building, and the stack effect for natural ventilation, where we're mainly opening off the green lung of the marae side with all the trees and pulling the air through and up, and there's natural daylight also coming down through the centre of the building. And this is sort of a long view. You can see the slope of the road and how there's a stair that ascends through. And interesting dealing with the acoustic engineers saying, oh, it's going to be quite noisy, but actually the love of waiata, to hear oropu singing, chanting, karakia and things, that's all part of the whole wairua of the building and the education. Materials is a really major focus of the Living Building Challenge, and this is a really important thing of how we are impacting on the building industry. There is a list of about 30 chemicals that aren't that are red list, including things like PVC, which is so common in our industry. And this is Caitlin, who's our wonderful materials researcher, an engineering degree and an architecture degree. This is a tracking sheet for Te Kura Whenua, the project we did for Tūhoi and Waikaremoana. And the tracking sheet for the Living Pā is going to be like 3 times as long. So each one of those columns. And so this is this whole investigation with what's in this material. Are there any red list materials? Getting the manufacturers to declare or open up about those things, or if not, to sign off that there aren't any. And it's a huge piece of mahi. Equity is around the balance of human relationships and human resources. So again, about connectedness, but a lot about one of the some of the consultants, ourselves included, need to have a just label, and we've just also got the B Corp label, which is really looking about how our practice manages diversity and inclusion, employment benefits, equity, stewards, local communities, and other things outside of the practice, employment, health, supply chain issues. And so there's another rating system that sort of looks at how equitable just one part of the project team is, and this is but it's starting to impact and influence other players on the project, which is the target. And then finally, beauty, which looks at biophilia, how nature designs, and also what's the other aspect of biophilia? Jerome? Sorry, beauty, the other imperative. Inspiration, education, that's right. So how the building can then share itself, both, and which is a big effort for the whole project team, including the university and ourselves and LT McGuinness, the contractors, but also going forward. This is just in terms of biophilia. We've had one significant workshop and looking at how the design can be influenced by natural processes and natural systems, which is really, you could say, the whole kaupapa, or the whole sort of the mātauranga of the Living Building Challenge, about bringing buildings to life. And mahi toi, Māori kai toi, whakairo, there's not too much, because the main mahi toi o Te Here Waka is the wharanui. So the building is going to be allowed to be to allow itself to be adorned over time. Yeah, so there's just some other projects. So yeah, I think just final conclusions is that when I think about sustainability, I really reflect on the fact really about how it's really about interconnectedness, how we're so interconnected in ways we don't even realise. And I think everyone here in this room sort of understands that, but it's how to break down the sort of Pākehā worldview, or the scientific Western worldview, to see that and get those integrating. And the projects with Tao Māori, with that Indigenous knowledge, with that beauty and the Wairua, and this why this living building, actually it wouldn't even be a living building challenge project if it wasn't for Rawinia, BBC Māori, whose tūhoi fully understands from influenced by Jerome as well, through the tūhoi projects, how the Living Building Challenge can provide a lasting support to really provide an exemplar building of how to do things sustainably. Thank you.
Hugh, sorry to push you for time, but that was fantastic to have all that information. I won't go into reiterating any of it. It was very inspiring. And don't run away. We will see you tomorrow. But there is just a little wee thank you from us. And I hope you stay with us for lunch. And Sherry's asked questions then.